Hello, class. It seems that the final week's um, video is over adapting to change and kind of collaboration between everything that we've learned in the class thus far. I think I've said before that I was not a fan of the videos that we have to record, but I certainly do see why we need to do that and why it's important. Um, because it shows our authentic selves. Unless we want to actually formulate a paragraph or an essay and kind of try to read from that, then we have to speak our minds. But adapting to change in the work environment also does carry out into our lives. Um, I know in my current healthcare field, um, being adaptive to change is part of their motto. They recently changed CEOs, and the original CEOs had been at the company since its implementation, which was about 25 years ago. So bringing in new leadership um, from the top, which was referred to as the core team, definitely we started seeing changes flow down to our department and specialist levels. A lot of the people that had been there from the foundation of the company don't really adapt to change well. They like, if you ask them a question, well, why do we have this process? Why do we do this the way that we do it? The answer would always be, well, this is the way that it's always been done. It wasn't until recently, I've been with the company 4 years, and when I started, there were not many written out processes. So we didn't have any controls for a lot of our operations. Um, right now, that is the position that I'm in, is writing and implementing controls um, for our um, operations portion of the department that I'm in. I'm in the enrollment department, so we kind of have to work with compliance and pick apart the contracts with the healthcare lines of business that we deal with. I'm responsible for Indiana and Georgia Medicaid, so I have to look at the Georgia contract quite often. We just had and there is change within the company all the time. They just recently hired in an outside company to come in and comb through all of our contracts for every single line of business we have. Well, our company's services, we have Medicaid in 5 different states. We have Ohio, Indiana, Georgia, Kentucky, um, 4 states. And we service West Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio for the marketplace. We also have Medicare Advantage, and we have the MyCare line of business. So that's quite a few lines of business that we service. So the company came in, they went through the contracts, and they picked out portions of the contracts to kind of help our company fill in the gaps between the contracts and our policies and procedures. So if they didn't find a written process that correlated with a regulation in the contract, they would send it over to our department for us to either write one up or refer to that specific policy and procedure. Um, I was not a big fan of that, but I have to do what I'm supposed to do. That is my job. And I found myself actually writing a bunch of, we used to call them SOPs, which are standard operating procedures. When the new leadership came in, they wanted to go be more technologically savvy. So they changed over to an electronic SOP, and they are called e-manuals. So we have electronic SOPs. So we're no longer writing them on Word documents. We actually use SharePoint to write our e-manuals. So we have the contract for the line of business or the state. Once that state or line of business gets implemented, then the compliance department takes out the corporate policies and procedures for from the contract, and those are per department. So our department, the step down to that is departmental policies and procedures, and then we have our specialist level standard operating procedures, which is for every procedure or every operation that we do on a daily basis, there has to be a procedure in place. So I think that I am very adaptive to change. I was in the military. That taught me to be adaptive to change. That was my first